Oftentimes, structures will have multiple floor levels with similar framing and loading conditions. These instances most commonly occur in, but are not limited to, multifamily residential and commercial office building structures. RISAFloor makes designing these floor systems simple by allowing users to copy an existing floor or create a child floor dependent on an existing parent floor. So here I have an example of a simple steel building. Typically, when you start a model in RISAFloor, the first thing it's going to do is prompt you to create a floor plan. In this instance, we already have just one single floor plan here, and I already created it. I can go ahead and view that full model here just to give us an idea. And if I come to my floor spreadsheet as well, we'll get a summary of what's going on here. You can see the elevation is at 0 here, so this looks like a basement is occurring, and so it's got that public area load. So oftentimes you'll notice that maybe this public area load, that first level of most structures, might see the heaviest load. It might be a little bit different than the floors above, but the framing might be a little bit of the same. So what we're going to go ahead and do here, let me switch back to floor 1 in that nice plan view. We're going to go ahead and create a new floor, the second floor plan here. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to choose Floor. For this option here, we're going to do the beam supported floor. And this time for the floor creation options, we're going to choose Copy of Floor 1. So you do have the option to uncheck certain items here. Perhaps we don't want, maybe the diaphragm is different, so you could choose to exclude that from the selection. But I'm going to go ahead and just keep all of the items checked there. So then other options we're going to go ahead and input. So elevation. We're going to input an elevation of 16 feet there. And then let's go ahead and leave that office area load. And then our deck is going to be that composite deck there. And then let's make sure we change our deck angle. We want that to be 90 degrees. So we want that to be perpendicular to our beams there. I'm going to keep my naming conventions similar here. So I'm going to erase the plan. I just want to make sure my label just says floor 2. I like to keep it consistent. So then I'm going to go ahead and choose OK here. All right, so now you see we've got floor 1 on this plan and floor 2 here on this plan. We can choose to expand the view if we like to. So now what we can do, if we actually switch over to floor 1, let's go to floor 1 now. And what I can do is I'm going to add a beam on floor 1. So I'm just going to simply come in here to the Draw Beams option. And I'm just going to do an offset. So let's go ahead and just do a beam offset. The first offset, let's go ahead and set to 5 feet. And then the second offset, let's go ahead and specify it as an angle. And let's let that be 90 degrees. And so that angle is going to be relative to the beam. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and choose to apply this on my floor level 1. So I'm going to select the beam. It's went ahead and selected 5 feet offset. And then I'm going to select it to frame to this other beam. So that went ahead and did that 90 degrees at that 5-foot offset there. So if you recall, when we created floor plan 2, we created it as a copy. So what that means is that any changes I make to floor level 1 is not going to be reflected on floor 2 because it's simply a copy. The copy essentially detaches the two floor plans. They are very independent. Anything that you draw in either of them will not be reflected on each other. So they're independent when you create a copy. So if I come to floor 2, you'll see that that beam is not there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at an example of creating a child. So let's go ahead and come back to our insert option. I'm going to choose floor again. And then this time, let's call this one floor 3, just keeping consistent with my labels. We have that beam supported floor. And then this time for our floor creation options, I'm going to choose this last radio button where it becomes a child of. Okay, so we're going to create a child of floor 2 because in this structure, pretty much everything above floor 1 is going to be very, very similar to each other, and it's going to be a repetitive design. So I'm going to create this as a child of floor 2. So what this means is that everything that I do modify or add on floor 2 is also going to be reflected on floor 3 and whichever other ones I decide to make a child of floor 2. So what this means is floor 2 is now the parent. So for floor 3, I'm going to make that elevation. Let's go ahead and give this elevation of maybe 32 feet. We'll keep that office area load, same deck angle with that composite deck, and we're going to go ahead and choose to apply that. So now we've got our third floor here, which is the child of floor 2. So let's go ahead and hone in on floor 2 here. And we're going to do similar to what we did previously where we add in some framing here into floor 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my draw beams option. And let's keep this first offset here. So maybe we actually want to input a opening here in this floor plan. Maybe we need to consider a elevator shaft going up the building. So what we want to do is I'm going to keep that offset. We'll do 5 feet. I'm going to keep this dialog open here. I'm going to go ahead and choose to apply. And so let's go ahead and maybe we'll apply it to this beams here. And then let's specify a larger offset about, let's go with 13 feet. Choose to apply, and I'll choose this end of the member. So it counts 13 feet from the member end you chose, and then that 90-degree relative angle. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and choose cancel here, and maybe I want to add in an opening here. So I'm going to come in and choose the create an opening, and then I'm just going to click within the box there. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to apply, and let's click within that framing option there. So we've got our opening in our floor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to switch here and go to floor 3. And you can see how that opening here is reflected on floor 3. And that is because floor 3, again, is the child of floor plan 2. I should go ahead and also mention any changes that is made on a child floor will not be reflected on the parent floor. So, for example, if I, again, maybe wanted to come draw a beam here, let's just leave our offsets the same settings we had. I'm going to go ahead and choose apply. And let's go ahead and apply this beam up here. Okay, so now that's on floor plan 3. We applied that beam. If I switch over to floor plan 2, you will not see that beam. And that is because we made the change on the child floor. So you can make some small, minute changes on the child floor without it reflecting the parent floor. So another thing, we can also view the parent-child relationship through the floor spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to view the floor spreadsheet here. I'm going to close out of some of these excess plans here. And so we've got our floor spreadsheet. If we want, we can switch to that Beams Floor tab. And I'll go ahead and expand some of these. We can see there's this option, this column called Parent. And so floor 1, no parent. Floor 2 is no parent. Floor 2 actually is a parent. So floor 3 is saying that floor 2 is the parent. So we can see a list of the child and parent relationships, a summary in that Beam Floors spreadsheet here. I should also mention that the child-parent relationship is not yet available for the concrete floor slabs. It is only supported by the beam-supported floors. So that's a quick summary of how you can create copies of floor plans as well as how the parent and child relationship works for floor plans within RISAFloor. For more information, visit our website at risa.com.